So what else you got going on? Is it just focusing on what's on Joe Mind? Because you're not always on every episode of that.
No, basically, I will drop off, particularly like if there's a guest or maybe two guests, just to kind of keep things from being a cluttered
Cluttered?
mess
Yeah,
and making the episode run 3 hours.
I understand. It's difficult. I I I started a new initiative.
If you get more than about like four people on there, it starts to turn into blah, 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 and
Yeah. I started a new initiative myself, and we're having to try to wrangle people and get people, and it's 4 people per episode, and it's difficult. People don't realize the
yeah,
logistics and the time, and you have to let people know, and there's a format to it, and you have to be able to follow the format. Like if you want to have so and so talk, you say, Rob, how do you feel about such and such, or Mark, how do you feel, what do you think about such and such, and that format of how Mike does it, I like that, and I've kind of adopted that format for my new initiative thing that I'm doing, and eventually maybe I'll have one or both of you guys on it at some point.
that's that's kind of the way it kind of has to work, just so that one of us isn't just hanging out there on the corner, just kind of
And you're right,
just
because
try and get everybody involved. So
I've seen podcasts where everybody's just talking over each other. There's no structure. There's no format. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want that. I
I
think
mean that's going to happen every once in a while. But yeah,
well, yeah, you guys do it too once in a great while,
yeah,
but it's not that
yeah.
much. It's not that much. But what's on Joe Mind? You guys got a nice format. You got a nice show. You got it organized. Every one of you. When I was talking to Mark and Mike about it, I said every person on it is like a different person. Obviously it's a different person, but it's a different type of a person. One person's cosplay, one person's comics, one person's industry, one person's the host that can kind of be the glue to bring all these things together, and also have their own fandom and parts of the thing. And it's like the perfect dollar bill almost.
It helps if somebody can add something a little different.
Right.
Otherwise, you just got four clones. So
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. The fact that you guys are all different, you're not bringing to the table the same stuff. Yeah, you all grew up in the 80s. Yeah, you all love G.I. Joe. But that's about the extent of the similarities.
yeah, yeah, it's a good mix, and I think we play to each other's strengths and things like that really well when it comes to that.
Yeah, the humor and stuff like that. When Mike throws out a curveball and you just slam it out of the park with a really funny joke or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mike and I have been doing this act for since 1975 at least when he showed up. So
But it's the same thing with Mark. It's the same thing with Mark
yeah,
and Joe Colton, where he's sarcastic, and then Joe Colton will call him on it. You know, it's the same thing. I love it. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job with.
Mark, we often wonder if he's not just another offshoot of the family. Because loves GI Joe, also big Yankees fan, and also lover of sketch comedies like Saturday Night Live and SCTV. So
And see, that's why I'm not a very comical person. I don't have an irreverent personality. I can joke around with a guest or whatever, but that isn't my thing. My thing is trying to get inside the person's head, trying to get the cool stuff out of them for the public to see. I'm kind of like I coined the phrase actors studio, but for the GI Joe community.
yeah,
And it's up to the community to accept that. But that's how I look at it.
yeah.
Uh, the only thing funny about me is my twin brother. I do have a twin brother, and I always
You
make
have a
fun
twin
of him.
brother?
People don't
Which
believe me. That's the funny thing. I tell people I have a twin. It's, David, what are you're so funny. I said, I'm not being funny, I'm being serious. My twin brother is my ugly twin brother. That's why Tomax and Samar are my favorite Joe characters, because they're twins.
You're going from experience.
Yeah, you punch one of them, and then they're like, oh my God. Thankfully, that didn't happen with me and my twin brother. I could punch him, and I didn't feel it.
So then he ended up with the scar then, right?
Yeah.
Or does he just walk around with a goatee and he's the evil twin?
Nah, he shaves his face. I'm the one with the goatee, unfortunately. But I don't want people still they mistake me for him. They're like, hey, aren't you? I said, no, that's my ugly twin brother. Don't insult me.
No, I'm the good looking one.
That's right. And being the older twin brother by 2 minutes, I get to say what's the truth and what's not the truth. You're the older brother.
I have seniority.
Yeah, right. You guys don't do too many shows because of your schedule and things like that, and you work a lot, everything. But is there anything that you got coming up that you might be going to?
Well, I mean, we have our regular weekly, podcast coming up Friday at 9.
Right.
See, we do one week at Saturday at 7, and threw me off. But yeah,
I remember that.
Coming up this Friday at 9.
And that's your convention every week.
In a way, it is. It's kind of a continuation of 1,000 JoeCon conversations. Way too late at night at the hotel lobby.
Oh, I've been there. Trust me. That's the thing I love about it. I love the community. Yeah. I'll stay up all night long. I said, yeah, I can sleep at work when I get back. I don't need to sleep now. Yeah. So, well,
you see, if I do that at work, I'll find some kids on the ceiling. How'd you get up there?
Well, you got a particularly difficult job, and I don't like I said before, the teachers that were teaching me, I was the angel compared to some of the other kids. But if I say so myself, and maybe they might have another opinion, but yeah, that's a little more difficult than I don't want to say a normal, I'll say your average teacher that just has the regular students. And yeah, you can have some delinquent students in your class, but they're totally not the same as dealing with the learning disabilities and issues that these kids have that you have to deal with. And yeah. You're a saint.
No, I'm not. It's basically, it's just a realization that, at the heart of what these kids are doing, there's something they're trying to communicate.
Right.
And a lot of times it's just figuring out what they're trying to say. And if you can, you do start to knock out some of that behavior.
That's true. I agree.
Because once they understand that you're trying to communicate back to them, it makes it does make it easier. There's a level of understanding there. Oh, okay, I think he can help. So
I agree with you 100% because, like I said before, I was in classes like that when I was very young and stuff like that, and every person learns differently. Every person absorbs information differently. Yeah, we're trying to conform people to do it a certain way, all structured things, but that's not the way of the real world. The real world doesn't work that way. And I learn differently than other people, and other people learn differently than the next kid over and stuff like that. And it takes a good quality, smart, respectful teacher to understand that. And I respect you for being open-minded to see that. Obviously, you have a lot of experience.
It's something. Before I got my own classroom, I also worked as an aide, before that, and I was kind of, just it's where some of the some of that experience comes from. Just trying to figure out what's he saying here. So,
and I know teachers are unsung heroes. I know students that have particular teachers that they loved when they were growing up and stuff like that, they praise them and stuff like you see in the news a lot, or on talk shows, people talk about their teachers and stuff like that. But I always was a very fond of my teachers growing up and stuff like that, and I respect the teachers to this day. I still do. And so I appreciate you for the work that you're doing, and everything that you're doing with these kids and stuff like that. It's wonderful. Obviously,
It's the job.
Well,
It's
a job can be a job, trudging through the snow an
yeah.
hour to get to.
But what I do, I mean, like what I do for the kids, it's like I said, it's part of what should be part of the job. So.
And I know you can't put out their information because you're a teacher. Kids will probably find you and things like that. But obviously, if someone wanted to ask you a question or interested in talking to you, they could probably go to the What's on Joe Mind website and send an email that way. That's how I was able to reach you.
Yeah, because basically, if it's any time that's directed at one of us, Mike will forward it along to the appropriate party. So. Because Mike checks the email, and then he'll zap it on along.
And that's the only place, and then obviously Facebook and comments and things like that when you guys.
Yeah, I do not do the social media thing.
I figured that one out because it was tough.
Yeah, at all, because I do not do Facebook, Instagram. I'm just kind of like, yeah.
Well, like I said,
I'm not under the illusion that I'm that interesting that people want to know what I'm having for lunch every day.
Oh wow, yeah.
Or need my pithy observations on whatever's going on. I'm just like
I don't know. Larry Hama has a pretty neat diet. I like some of those things that he shows.
If I was if I had more of the time to cook for myself, I would probably do more of that. Just because, hey, look what I did. Just as from a pride standpoint, look, I didn't burn the place down. But I mean, that is one thing when I was cooped up, from COVID, just started watching America's Test Kitchen videos on the web and things like that, because everything else was, more doom and gloom from pandemic and politics and things. If I sat and watched much longer, I would, just said, "Oh, look, there's a truck going by. I think I'll walk in front of it." So doing, cooking videos and things like that, said, I could do that. Let me try that. I wonder how it comes. So.
Well, that's kind
I turned myself into amateur chef.
Well, that's actually very cool, because that was my background for almost 25 years. I went to culinary school and am a chef technically, even though
cool.
I'm not doing that anymore. I got out of it because the certain difficulties from my perspective on time and having a life. I got out of it.
My sister is currently working as a pastry chef for a restaurant in Brooklyn. So.
Well, that was always my dream to do that. But in order to do that, you have to get a job at some place like Disney or a major place. Yeah. Because a normal pastry chef can't make a living as a pastry chef without being a regular chef first. So you have to go work in a restaurant. You could dabble in pastry chefs and stuff, unless you became a world famous person.
Yeah.
So it's very weird and difficult and stuff like that. And so I'm glad that she's been able to make a career for herself as that. That was always my dream to do that, but I never got in a position to do that.
She took it upon herself at one point. She went and studied in Paris. She went to the Cordon Bleu for 6 months.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, so she came back from that. That helped. That accreditation, helped her, get.
Yeah.
But right as she was about to start, pandemic.
Oh man, yeah. Now no restaurants, right? That's another whole thing too. Gosh.
But luckily, they were able to regroup and replan and reopen. So.
Let's thank God. So I want to say thank you for taking the time today, and
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I love watching you guys on the show. I want to see more comic book stuff on the show because that's really
I'm
where
going to
my.
work on it. I definitely want to try and get something out for when issue 300 rolls around,
Oh, okay.
and we wrap up this particular IDW thing.
If
But
you need any help or want to
yeah.
have some commentary or whatever, I'm always open to it.
All right. Once I decide, like I said, I have to try it. Like I said, I'm still in the middle of catch up
Gotcha.
and digging my way out of the hole. So, um, but like I said, I hope that get that done by the time 300 rolls around. I could put something out there and give Mike a heart attack that I actually did something.
It's just like fandom. You do it the way you want to do it, and
Yeah.
don't care whatever people think.
Yeah. But that's my hope anyway. So I think I have a good maybe month and a half to think of something.
There's a lot of opportunity because there's a lot of people out there. I've got a interview with Jay Sullivan coming up. I've been trying to get in touch with SL Gallant. I asked Larry
Mhm.
Hama for an interview, but I think he's gonna do the only interview he did on PulseCon. I doubt anybody's gonna get another interview out of him for it. I think that's done. But
Yeah, Larry, and I've actually talked with him a little bit at JoeCon.
yeah, I've talked with him plenty.
Just yeah, just and Mike. I mean, Mike has talked with him more because Mike did a couple, rollout roll calls over in merry old England.
Yeah.
Um, for our buddy Dave Tree, and Larry was a guest there, so
Well,
Mike spent more time with Larry there.
Well, I've met him like 10 times. It's not like I
Yeah,
haven't met him. And I've talked to him and got autographs and things like that. And I've got some intel and stuff. But, when you try to do stuff through social media and everything, it's tricky because people want to know your accreditation, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm a guy that likes G.I. Joe and likes comics. Can you talk to me?
yeah,
He has answered my questions though on Instant Messenger 4 or 5 times. He has done that, and you
yeah.
have to be very careful how you word your questions because if you don't, he won't answer or he'll delete it. He's been terse with me a couple of times when I've done that. Thankfully, he hasn't like disavowed me.
He's a little bit of a tough interview.
Yeah.
From what I found, but he's just talking to him, he's very personal.
Yeah, he's very personal. Yeah, he is. He is very personal when you talk to him. But when it comes to interviews and that type of stuff, he can be a little crotchety.
Yeah, that's right. He's earned the right.
He's earned the right. Now he's an Eisner Award winner as well.
Yeah,
He's definitely earned the right for that.
yeah. The Eisner Hall of Fame. So
Eisner Hall of Fame. Yeah,
it's well deserved.
it is well deserved, and I respect him. And I don't know why it took them this long because the style in which he does his comics, no one else does. He does it in a style that only he can do it, and it's unique to him. Even though that was the house style for decades, nobody does that house style anymore.
Well, the remarkable thing was, Larry was. I think G.I. Joe was his first real his first real opportunity to stretch his writing muscles.
Yeah.
And he was an editor, and he was an artist.
Yeah. He's done a few little things before that writing, since the late '60s till he got G.I. Joe.
But he's often said, I know in interviews he says, I wanted to get into writing, and and I got the GI Joe thing because I was the last office that was left.
Right.
And he said, if they had walked in and handed, hey, you want to write a Barbie comic, he'd have been, you got it, because he wanted to get in on the writing, and it just so happened that
Kingdom, yeah,
it lined up, with something that's. That he was able to put his personal stamp on and really kind of create this world that even let's face it, Hasbro was basing their own mythology for the figures on.
Right.
They had no idea that Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes would be tied. Well, I'm sure when they were developing those figures, and then Larry made that tie, and I was like, well, let's put that on the file card. You're writing it, Larry. Throw it in there.
Yeah, that's true. And eventually they diverged. Obviously, the cartoon diverged, the toys diverged, and the comics diverged.
Yeah.
They all have like a echo of the same echo of it, but they all do have their own identities.
They do. Snake Eyes is such a minor part of the cartoon.
Yeah.
I doubt that in the cartoon universe, there's, there might not be that tie between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
That's true, because
you rarely see them on screen together.
That's true.
But
that's true, because Storm Shadow.
Nothing that says there isn't either.
You're correct though, because Storm Shadow and Spirit were really adversaries in the cartoon.
Yeah. Probably, mainly because the number one reason is, they could talk.
That's true.
But, that enduring part of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow being connected has carried on into the movies. Whether that's, good or, no matter what your opinion of the movies, the tie is there between those two.
Right.
And it's a very big part of the movies. It was a very big part of Renegades. It's been a part of all the other comics that have come, since then, all the other continuities and things. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are inextricably tied. So.
It's true. And Larry, those are the things that Larry brought to this property that he will never be, no one will ever be able to take away from him, because that is indebitable. Indebitable, is that the word? With Larry. He created that origin. He created this connection with these two characters. And he did a few other things too, different versions of characters as well. Hawk is a totally different character than he is in the cartoon and other comics. Destro is totally different in Larry's. He's got more of a respectful type thing going that no one else has been able to get with that character. But Larry's Destro has a honor or a core or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he falls into that line of like the honorable Marvel villain.
Yes. Right.
Just as Dr. Doom has his sense of honor.
Yep.
And Magneto has his sense of honor.
Yep.
Destro has his sense of honor and his code that he won't violate and he won't cross. As opposed to Cobra Commander, who will sell you for a nickel. And because he's the bad guy. Yeah. And he's more the traditional mustache twirler villain. But you know what? That doesn't mean that there's not a place for that too.
Right.
Another great Marvel villain, the Red Skull, is also completely without scruple.
Right.
But that makes him the perfect foil for Captain America.
And Larry always says there has to be both spectrums. You have to have this spectrum and this spectrum. Cobra Commander is this spectrum, and Duke is this spectrum. In between are all these shades.
In between is everybody else.
Yeah. And, but he did a lot of different things with characters. One of my all-time favorite characters, and it's because of Larry, is Firefly. The way that he didn't know it. And I asked Larry, I flat out asked, I said, Larry, when you showed the blurred master in that photo back in issue 24 or whatever it was, did you know that was Firefly before you did that origin story in whatever it was, 22 or 23 or whatever it was? He said, no.
Yeah, I'll believe that.
He put an interesting character and he gave him an interesting name because he could.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's always said that, when I get to the, when I write page 1, I don't know what's going to be on page 2.
No.
So it's wherever page 1 takes him.
But I tested it. I wanted to test because I was like, "There's no way that story is so perfectly fits like a glove, like O.J. Simpson glove. You know what I mean? It is beautiful. And I'm one of the few people that likes that version of Firefly. A lot of people don't, but I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole happy accident, if you will, of issue 21. Hey, we're on a deadline crunch. All right, well, tell you what, I'll do the layouts and the breakdowns of the issue, and we'll make it, silent. I'm not going to have any dialogue in there. It'll save us time. We'll get this thing out on time.
Because they couldn't
and
get
it's the And by the way, just as a little extra capper, I'll throw on the fact that there's a connection between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Maybe I can do something with that later. And it's the most iconic issue of the entire.
But he did that with a lot of stuff, like the Freds, the Crimson Guards. Yeah. That added a flavor and a level to the Crimson Guards that Hasbro didn't have. That wasn't part of the original plan.
No, and the Crimson Guard figure came around when he was still writing all the file cards for them. So he could direct that, since he wrote the file card, as he just did, as the exercise to keep all the characters straight. And, Hasbro liked him and said, we'll put these on the back of the cards. The kids will like them. And then you get those nice touches, of, oh yes, they're infiltrating American society on every level, because and it's more, it adds to the insidiousness and the threat of Cobra. They're not just rolling over the hill in their hiss tanks. They're working to drive you down from within.
And I believe
that. I mean, that's why the Crimson Guard, like my favorite troop builders, and I think I think even he could have even got further. So.
It's my favorite. They're my favorite faction. Whenever people say, what's your favorite subgroup or favorite faction on Facebook and all that, I'm like, the Crimson Guard. I haven't got mine yet. I got my commanders.
Yeah. Oh, these are great.
They look beautiful. I ordered...
They really are fantastic.
I got a case of 6 coming, and then I ordered the retro one, 2 or 3 of the retro one. Because I thought, okay, that's fine. I don't mind.
I ended up ordering one more of those just because got me out of shipping. So I was looking at it because I went out for the Snake Eyes and said, no, the Crimson Guard's here. And if I order something else, I don't have to pay shipping. Oh, what the heck!
They didn't have to really pull too much of you to get that.
No.
But
pardon me.
So Larry did.
Yeah, no, it was. I was not a hard sell.
Nah, GI Joe fans are not that easy to wrangle.
Yeah.
Man, there's another GI Joe figure that looks beautiful on a card that's my favorite character.
Oh shucks.
All right, give me.
All right, you talked me into it.
But Larry, he did a lot of different stuff, though. So that's the unique thing. I know a lot of people gives him respect and gives him the props he's due. But I don't think a lot of people realize the inevitable impact a lot of his decisions in the series have affected the G.I. Joe brand as a whole. When you really get down to it, we've only touched on 3 or 4 things, but there's a lot of other things too.
They really kind of came.
He killed off like 30 characters.
Yeah, most of them weren't the figures.
Well, that's
so a lot of times you could tell, hey, this character doesn't have a figure of them. Well, they're probably going to die eventually.
That's true.
Billy hung on forever. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, he did. He's still around.
No, they eventually killed him off.
Billy?
Yeah. Yeah, even in his own book, I think he got eviscerated by a blue ninja.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. People do die in Larry's comics. That's the good thing. It's a true representation, and that's why I always felt this one quote he always said when they pitched it to him, G.I. Joe to him. He says, well, who are these guys going to fight? Nobody. We don't have anybody for the. I'm like, well, you don't. You lose the
Yeah, what are they going to do? Just are we going to write a comic of
march
them
all
standing
day.
around marching? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. I'm like, duh. You come to a comic book company and you want them to create a comic. They've got to have an adversary.
Yeah.
That was
And
brilliant.
that
We wouldn't have Cobra if it wasn't for Larry.
yeah, I think it was yeah, and I think Archie Goodwin, um, who was one of the big editors at Marvel, gave him the name
Yeah,
of Cobra because we should do something. I mean, we've got Hydra. It could kind of sound like how about Cobra? You know, oh
yeah,
yeah, all right,
yeah.
and bang, there you go on
And then
T-shirts everywhere.
and then Ron Rudat did this
Yeah,
beautiful design that's been licensed by every company under the sun.
every T-shirt manufacturer that can. Yeah,
I wore it to work a couple of times, right under my vest at Walmart, and my manager pulled me in the office. This is really funny and stupid. They thought, we don't think you should wear those GI Joe shirts anymore because it looks like you're part of like a cult or something. I was like, what? I said, you're selling the toys in the toy aisle. You don't know that it's characters based on a toy line and a cartoon. It's not a cult symbol.
yeah.
It was the dumbest conversation I ever had with anybody in Walmart.
Yeah. It's I having worked retail management myself. I hear where you're coming from. It's
So I wanted to say thank you again. Kind of got onto the Larry Hama train, but we're back now. And I want to say thank you again. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to speak with me and the time out of your schedule. I know you're a very busy person, and this is probably one of your half days, being that it's a holiday. Uh,
no, actually, I had a full day today, so.
you did? Oh,
Yeah, now our fall break is I do have a 4-day weekend coming up
oh.
the end of this week, so
We could have waited
that's
till
why
then.
I don't have today off.
Oh,
So,
okay. We could have
because I
did.
got Thursday and Friday. I figure it was a good trade.
Uh, well, I could have waited till then if you wanted to.
Oh, now we're fine.
Uh, so I love What's on Joe Mind. I think you guys are fantastic. You do a wonderful job, and I thank you again. I hope to see you sometime in the future down the road. If our paths cross, maybe I can have you come on to this new initiative that I'm working on, but I cannot reveal it because it has not been publicly announced.
Announced.
I can tell you after we stop recording. I can keep a secret public.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a good time,
I appreciate it, and
and thanks for watching the show.
it's my pleasure. I have a ball every time I watch it. The funny part about it is whenever I see Joe Colton, I'll probably never be able to interview her because every time I see that photo of her with the toe where she's got this type face, I crack up. I crack up. I can't.
The one from the community calendar where she's
Yes,
trying to get
I can't
where she's
stand
stuck
it.
in her shoe. Yeah.
Yes, that is so funny. They need to have a T-shirt made. You guys should secretly have a T-shirt made of that and sell that on your YouTube page. I bet you'll make $1 million because that is
And
the
we
most.
never got a chance to spend it because she'd murder us.
Well, does she look at the page? Does she look at that stuff?
Oh, she'd find out.
You think
She'd
so?
find out.
Oh, crap. So that's why I could never interview her because I would be laughing the entire time because I have that in my memory, in my mind,
Yeah.
looking at that like, oh my God.
Oh no, she would hunt us down and murder us.
Oh man. Okay, I have a friend that makes gag T-shirts. I'm gonna make a gag T-shirt of that. I'm gonna send it to you, Mark and Mike, and you guys won't tell her where.
Oh,
Don't tell her it came from me because I think it's hilarious. It's so funny.
the funny thing is, Mike explains when you go to YouTube, more often than not, when you run the little, if you hover over the thumbnail and it plays a little bit, that's the part that plays. is the community calendar intro.
Stop motion. We could do a stop motion animated segment with that, like, and put all kinds of different words.
Yeah.
Comic book blur.
She'd kill us.
Yeah.
So I like breathing too much.
Oh God! Tell her you have all these children that you take care of. She can't kill you.
Nah, she would.
She would anyway. Well, my house is always open. If you have to escape murder, you're welcome to come visit in Florida. I'll be glad to put you up.
If we're fleeing a vengeful Joe Colt. She's got connections. She'd find us.
Yeah, that's
it's best, to go with it. If you don't want none, don't start none.
Well, it's true. She probably got the finest all across the country. They're like the Crimson Guards. All she has to do is, hey, finest member in Orlando, have you seen this guy? Let me know. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it, and we will hopefully talk again in the future. Give my best to the gang at What's on Joe Mind. And we will talk to you guys next time.
All right. Thanks, David.